This is the common fuel filter that you see on a vintage Volkswagen, and a lot of people like to mount these underneath the hood, right by the carburetor, which generally puts it right above the distributor, which is a huge fire hazard. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to mount this before the engine, right above the transaxle. For materials, we'll need a conduit clamp. So in the electrical aisle of your hardware store, you can pick up a number 2 conduit clamp. It might also be marked as a 1-inch clamp. There's a couple different styles there, so either one will work. And then over by the hinges in the hardware department, you want a 2.5-inch corner brace. That's 2.5-inch corner brace. And then you'll also need just a little screw with a nut and maybe a washer, and that's a number 10 by 24. One quick trick before we get started is we've seen where the fuel hoses have pulled off of these sometimes, and what we can do is we can get a tap and die kit and get the 5/16 out, and you can just carefully run that over, and it'll add a little bit of thread so it gives the hose something to grip on. Now this one here that I'm using is a 5/16. You don't want to use too much more because you want to make sure that you don't take out too much material. You don't want that breaking off on the hose. And on our corner brace, we're just got to drill one of these end ones out to 5/16 or 8mm. Okay, I have a screw and a washer and a nut. This is a number 10 screw. It fits through the holes on our bracket. If you don't have something that'll fit through the hole, you could always drill it out a little bit. If not, you could pick up something like that at the hardware store. So what we're going to do is I put a little bit of red Loctite on there, and we're just going to assemble this bracket. Okay, we want to get that square just like that, get it nice and snug, and then the large 5/16 or 8mm hole that we drilled out earlier, that will be on the opposite end. Before you tighten your clamp down, you want to make sure that your screw head is on this side, opposite end of your large hole. And then also another thing that we could do is we can use some of this foam weather stripping and just line the inside of our clamp to help hold our filter in place. Bring your filter through this way so the inlet side is over here. There's your arrow. Fuel's going in this way, so this is where the fuel would be coming out of the chassis. It's going to come in here, come out on this end, and go through the back of your engine tin. And with the foam in there, it's going to help hold that filter steady and help keep it from vibrating out. But you still want to tighten this down a little bit. And we're only going to tighten it just enough to put a little bit of pressure on it, not too much. We don't want this filter to crack when it starts to age a little bit. The plastic might get a little brittle, and we don't want it to snap or crack and start leaking fluid everywhere. So just enough to hold it steady. We've pulled the left side rear wheel off. We're going to get up underneath. We're going to find where the fuel line comes out of the chassis, comes up to a hose, and this is where we're going to splice in our fuel filter. Remember that follow your arrow. Your arrow should be pointing towards the rear, towards the motor. And the way we're going to mount this is we're going to look for the clutch cable bracket. It's right here. And then the clutch cable bracket's held by 2 nuts. We're going to take the top nut out, which is right back here at about the 11 o'clock position. And that's where we're going to hook our bracket up at. Once we get our bracket hooked up, We're going to tighten down all our hose clamps, and then we're going to test it out.